Chair Gossett, council members, elected leaders, valued employees, and people of King County. Here at this remarkable new home for our Museum of History and Industry are the signs and symbols of our collective experience. From the J.P. Patches suit to the Rainier beer sign above us, and yes, the Lusty Lady marquee that now proclaims with great civic pride, "We support forward thrust." Like many of you, I grew up here and I feel a deep connection to this place. The NBA championship trophy is here, and it reminds us of the celebration of the '79 Sonics and of how losing the team tore away part of our legacy. To be on the cusp of bringing our Sonics back home is just remarkable. I asked that we meet here today so that, surrounded by our shared past, we might consider what we want our legacy to be, what future we might leave to our children. We're just emerging from the worst recession since the Great Depression, but our government is back on sound financial footing because, as the elected leadership of this county, we made the wise choices, we made the tough decisions. Thanks to our work together, the state of King County government is strong. And with that strength, we can fulfill our role in keeping the entire county strong and healthy, its economy, its people, its natural wonder. But King County will remain strong only if we are willing to level with ourselves and our people about what it takes to stay on top. One exhibit here could not have escaped your attention. It asks, what if we'd built these projects? For example, it was once proposed that all of Mercer Island be preserved as a park. Can you imagine? Visualize park ranger Fred Jarrett. You can see it, can't you? So how will we, the leaders of 2013, be viewed by our descendants 40 or 50 years from now? Well, I'm sure none of us went to the trouble of getting elected just to preside over the decline of a great region. So let's agree now that our job as elected officials and as employees and as members of this community is to preserve and protect this place with which we have been entrusted, to have an honest discussion about the needs of the future, and then to act boldly in the brief time we are given to meet those needs. We've accomplished so much over the past 3 years by being methodical and persistent and focused. We've tamed the inflationary beast of healthcare costs, a national threat to our local success, and we have a healthier balance sheet and a healthier workforce to show for it. Our lean management is emulated by other governments, viewed as a model. Our customer service is continuously improving. It was one of my proudest moments in office to see how efficiently our staff issued the first marriage licenses in the state to hundreds of same-sex couples. Over 3 long days, King County workers delivered the kind of respect and customer service that made us all proud. We made history, and it was widely praised as government at its finest. And in fact, none of these reforms would be possible, none of this success would be possible without great employees. King County is setting the standard for productive partnerships with our workforce. And with us today are the leaders of many of our labor unions, of the Martin Luther King County Labor Council, and of our King County Labor Coalition. You are our partners in reforms and in making King County successful. Will you please stand and be recognized? As a result of our record of efficiency and reform, doors are being opened that were once tightly closed and locked. At the state, we showed how Metro Transit has wrung savings and efficiencies from its operations and used data to prioritize productivity and equity. As a result, we earned the trust of state lawmakers, and King County, and only King County, was granted the authority to fund temporary preservation of transit. And a supermajority of this council stepped up and met the challenge and saved bus service. 25 of our cities, recognizing improved practices and new management in our animal care and control, renewed their contracts for regional animal services. When I came into office, we were talking seriously of having to shut it down. Now, the new name for our shelter, the King County Pet Adoption Center, says it all: a fundamental commitment to humane care. That same demonstrated competence and transparency assured voters that they could entrust us with the resources to replace the deteriorating Youth Services Center. Building a new Children and Family Justice Center from the ground up in close collaboration with our courts lets us bring together all our best practices to save money and to save more kids from a life of crime. None of these accomplishments would have been possible without the collegial collaboration of the members of this King County Council. And I want to thank you for continuing the work we began together more than a decade ago. Now I ask for a broader partnership to build from our reform work inside county government to secure a stronger foundation for our region's future success. The strength of our county, the prosperity of our region, rely on the creation, preservation, and expansion of infrastructure. I'm talking about bricks and mortar, but I'm also speaking of more than our built infrastructure. Let's also consider our natural infrastructure and our human infrastructure. Three indispensable interlocking pieces that form the basis for our past and our future prosperity. Only by investing in each of these areas will we create the opportunity for continued prosperity. Our human infrastructure, the institutions that support the development of an educated, creative, productive, healthy, and free people. Our economy and our quality of life depend on everyone having the opportunity to fulfill their potential, to thrive and succeed through merit and hard work. While the recession certainly has not ended for some, as a whole, the state of our economy is improving. From the depths of the recession 3 years ago, unemployment in King County has been driven down by more than a third, from 9.6% in 2010 to just 6.1% today, well below state and national levels. In that time, King County has produced an additional 50,000 jobs. We're in better shape than the state or the nation, thanks in part to the strength of our aerospace, high tech, and other local industries, and the 21st century jobs they supply. The King County Aerospace Alliance we created is helping connect our people to the education and training that lead to the jobs at Boeing and its hundreds of suppliers. Like our program at WorkSource Renton that helps returning veterans convert the skills they learned in the military to family wage jobs in aerospace. Or the HERO program, our new veterans internship initiative. It just placed its first 10 veterans into 6-month internships in King County. But for our veterans, so much more is needed. King County is home to 127,000 military veterans, more than the entire population of the city of Bellevue, our second largest city. The county has a long legacy of honoring the service and the sacrifice of our returning veterans with a range of programs, many through the voter-approved Veterans Levy. But uneven coordination across federal and state and local and nonprofit systems means vets often are not connected to the services they need and have earned. It's said that 4 of every 10 veterans is unaware of the benefits or how to access them. And as regional leaders, we are in a position to supply those connections. So for that reason, I've asked 3 extraordinary individuals, a 4-star general, a decorated Army nurse, and an infantry officer to work with me and our Veterans Advisory Boards to create a model system of care for veterans and their families. Each brings knowledge and experience and a personal commitment to helping veterans successfully transition from military to civilian life. General Peter Corelli, former U.S. Army Vice Chief of Staff. Colonel Greta Kammermeyer, retired Chief Nurse of the Washington State National Guard. And Leo Floor, a former Army infantry officer and local veterans advocate. In fact, Leo Floor is with us here today. I would like to ask him, and I would like to ask all of those who have served in our nation's military to please stand and accept our heartfelt thanks. Federal health care reform was hard-won and presents an opportunity we must not miss. Starting in 2014, the new law will open eligibility to health care coverage for as many as 180,000 uninsured residents of King County, whether through Medicaid or the new state insurance marketplace or their employers. Now, thanks to this historic change, we can connect people to effective preventive care early rather than expensive treatment later. Our goal is nothing less than full enrollment of those 180,000 uninsured who are now eligible for insurance. To reach them, our equity and social justice team is mobilizing every county agency that has direct contact with the public. And to broaden our reach, I'm launching a leadership circle drawn from all sectors of the community. Together, we will create a culture of coverage in King County, saving money and saving lives. To lead outreach in these sectors and help shape our strategies, 3 prominent community members have stepped up to lead the effort with us. From the health sector, Tom Gibbon of Swedish Medical Center. From business, Maud Didon of the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce. And from the nonprofit sector, Gordon McHenry Jr. of Solid Ground. Will these 3 chairs of our leadership circle stand so that we can thank them for their service? The breakthrough in national health care reform provides a second opportunity, one without precedent, an opportunity to reform an inefficient hodgepodge of federal, state, and local funding and create a more rational, outcome-based, client-centered system. Together with this council and a broad group of stakeholders, we are developing a plan for an integrated system of health and human services that is more efficient, more effective, and adequately funded. 4 principles will guide this work. Health is bigger than health care. People are at the center of all we do. Prevention is good practice, and it saves money. And consistent with all of our reform efforts, we invest in what works. Several of our human service partners are here with us today, and I thank them for their dedicated hard work. Criminal justice and public safety are also a part of our human infrastructure. For nearly 40 years in our courtrooms, the county has provided public defenders for those accused of crimes but unable to pay an attorney. These defense attorneys and staff have earned King County a national reputation for excellence, and we can be proud of their work. Defense services historically have been contracted out to private, nonprofit corporations. 7 years ago, the employees of these private agencies sued the county to obtain public retirement benefits. The state Supreme Court ruled that the private defense firms were, in its words, arms and agencies of the government, and that the defenders were therefore public employees for the purposes of retirement benefits. Because of this, I've sent the council a tentative settlement under which the defenders will in fact become full county employees on July 1st when the agency contracts expire. We are proud to welcome public defenders as county employees. This is a new reality, and frankly one we did not choose, but it is a reality that requires a different model for the employees and for the county government. We've looked at many jurisdictions. We have found none where hundreds of public employees work for and are hired and trained and managed and disciplined and promoted and fired by a private agency. I will soon send the Council a plan to deal with this new reality. I know the Council shares my commitment that public defense in King County will continue to meet the highest standards and be delivered in a way that is client-centered and free from political influence and cost-effective for the public. Our sense of what makes a community safe has been badly shaken by a string of mass shootings here and across the country. It is true that we as local governments do not have the authority to require background checks or safe storage or to prohibit assault weapons. State and federal law preempts our ability to regulate firearms, but we should not be deterred from thinking innovatively about what we can do within our own authority. Gun violence is a public safety crisis, but gun violence is also a public health crisis. Locally, we can approach gun violence as a preventable public health problem and attack it through the same kind of proven public health strategies that have reduced deaths from smoking and from auto accidents and from sudden infant death syndrome. Let's start with the data. Over the past 5 years, 625 of our fellow King County residents were killed by guns. 2/3 of those were suicide. Today, I am issuing an executive order directing our public health department to develop innovative local strategies to reduce gun violence. With the right data, we can develop solutions to impact this epidemic. Among the actions I am ordering, public health will conduct a quarterly youth shooting review, modeled after the existing child death review, to look for patterns in how guns are used by and against children. I will work with the Council and the Board of Health, local elected officials, and community partners to do what we can to understand the underlying causes of gun violence in King County and develop real-world solutions to prevent real-life tragedies. If we can prevent one child, one innocent bystander, anyone, from being a victim of gun violence, our effort as a community will have been worth it. A second indispensable asset is our natural infrastructure. The mountains and the water and the forests that attracted so many of us here and keep us here generation after generation, that provide us with so much of what we consider to be our quality of life. Climate change is back on top of the national agenda, and for good reason. Last year was once again the warmest year on record in the United States. As a local jurisdiction, King County is leading the way in addressing climate change. And today I'm pleased to announce that King County has surpassed its ambitious goal of meeting more than half of our energy needs through renewable energy. Moreover, we are cutting our energy consumption, saving our planet and saving the public more than $2 million a year. And at the same time, threats from beyond our borders could erase all of our progress. I strongly oppose and will continue to oppose mile-and-a-half-long coal trains running through our county. Not only do coal trains threaten our local health and safety and mobility and economy, but burning that coal overseas will create greenhouse gases equal to all of the emissions in all of Washington state. That's not right. It's madness. We can do better, so much better. One of the most profound environmental and economic investments we can make is to clean up Puget Sound. The science is irrefutable. Contaminated runoff is degrading our waterways, threatening our shellfish, our salmon, our endangered orcas. Rigorous new state standards require every regional jurisdiction to do more to prevent toxic runoff and restore the damage it has caused. And this year, we will accelerate our cleanup work funded by our surface water management program. And in the Green River Valley, we averted the immediate threat of flooding from a damaged Howard Hansen Dam. This year, I will work with partners to develop a comprehensive solution for the whole river, to coordinate and unite our flood protection, economic development, and federally mandated salmon recovery work, to leverage these major and sometimes competing efforts and create real sustainable solutions, rather than simply pushing the problems downstream. Our legacy of parks, natural lands, and trails must be kept clean, safe, and open. This year, we celebrate the 75th anniversary of King County Parks, your big backyard. Based on the recommendations of the task force we convened last summer, I will soon send the Council a proposal for placing the renewal of the King County Parks levy on the ballot this year. What we do now will say a lot about what happens in the next 75 years. We set an ambitious goal nearly a decade ago of protecting 200,000 acres of King County's forests. We have made great progress, and I'm pleased to report that we expect this year to achieve that goal, helping to keep the most populous county in the Evergreen State forever green. Our agricultural production ranks third among all counties in Western Washington. Our farmland protection programs have helped local farmers markets multiply from 9 in 1999 to 41 today. Sales are up tenfold to $30 million per year. The public clearly loves to eat locally. But the face of agriculture is changing. Farms are smaller than they were 50 years ago, but there are more of them. Today, millions of urban and suburban residents can select from a vast array of local fruits and vegetables, locally produced cheese and ciders. And if that's not enough for you, there are 80 wineries and tasting rooms in Woodinville alone. But we must do more. We must set for ourselves the twin goals of protecting more farmland before it gets paved over forever, and strengthening our support for the dynamic agriculture industry that is growing in King County. These are goals on which I will work with the Council and our community partners this year, but in the meantime, we can all do our part by choosing foods and wine, beer, and spirits produced here in King County. And who knows, the voter mandate to legalize marijuana may soon put a new spin on what it means to grow high-value agricultural products. The third key to our prosperity is the built infrastructure. Our parents and grandparents had a vision reflected in this museum. And they had the will to create a great metropolitan region and left it to us as their legacy. The overriding challenge around the built environment is transportation. Our region did its part to save transit with an unprecedented agreement to set aside old geographic formulas and to boost transit productivity. The public did its part with an outpouring of support for transit. The Council, as I have mentioned, did its part. You saved bus service with the temporary authority granted by the legislature. Now it is time for that legislature to do its part, and if not, we will again face the grim certainty of slashing bus service by 17%, negatively impacting 4 out of every 5 bus users. The bus system is the workhorse of the transportation system, providing 115 million passenger trips last year. If the buses come to a halt, the roadways come to a halt, and our economy doesn't work. Our county road system is a $40 billion investment in our built infrastructure. If stretched in a line, it's enough roadway to take us from this spot to Kansas City. and we are watching it fall to pieces. Smaller roads are at risk of being turned back to gravel because the revenues authorized by the state provide only a fraction of what it takes just to maintain the system. Many of our cities face similar challenges. Growth management is succeeding in King County. We are getting urban areas inside cities. The funding system for local roads that preceded growth management needs to recognize this new reality. We all know what needs to be done. With our city partners, we have agreed on roads and transit proposal. We are united, and all of us who care about quality of life and economic health in this region, fully half the economy of the state of Washington, should insist on a permanent solution from the state legislature. I've outlined an ambitious agenda for our human and natural and built infrastructure. But much of this work merely protects and sustains what we already have. For example, the transit funding we seek in Olympia is by all accounts a heavy lift. But it only preserves the existing service. In 2013, we expect more people than ever in the history of Metro Transit to ride our buses. Not only must we keep the service we have, we must grow it to move an additional 1 million people expected in central Puget Sound over the next 30 years. Our leading employers, and some of them are here today, have told us they need two things to create jobs in the 21st century: long-term investment in education and immediate investment in transportation. Yet for 40 years, this region and this state have systematically disinvested in our infrastructure and our institutions. Our funding for public schools was once 6th in the nation. Today, we've fallen to 30th, 10% below the national average. Our funding for roads has fallen 9% in just 4 years. A lot of people have tried to fix the revenue system in this state. They have tried commissions and roundtables, and it's nearly impossible to get a serious conversation started in the state capitol around this. I know, I was there, and so were many of you. But past generations took responsibility for the world they would leave to others. They invested in our land, and our structures, and our people. These investments created the conditions for the prosperity we have enjoyed. And in turn, that prosperity is what has paid for the infrastructure of our human and natural and built environments. The evidence? It's here in this museum. Century 21, the Seattle World's Fair. The optimism it fueled led our forebears to call for major public investment, and they called it forward thrust. Well, Century 21 has arrived. Where is the forward thrust for the 21st century? We are all beneficiaries of that forward-looking can-do spirit, and we are stewards of their legacy. But as stewards, we must do a better job. It no longer makes sense to finance our 21st century future with 19th century tools. We are not serving the people well if we are not leveling with them about what it takes to pave the roads, or save the buses, or educate the next generation. We've been blessed here with the enormous advantages of our human and natural and built infrastructure, advantages that leave us no excuse to fail. But this is a fact. If we fail to invest in our infrastructure, if we fail to invest in our future, we will fail. You know it, and I know it. There are no simple fixes here. But you and I, and leaders around the state, were elected to fix things. And we have another advantage, because at King County, you and I have put ourselves in a position to take on these fundamental challenges. We did what we said we would do. We've reformed how we deliver services. We're changing how government works. Through rigor and collaboration and innovation and a commitment to reform, we are remaking how the public's government operates. We should be able to apply that same approach to the question of how public services are financed fairly, adequately, sustainably, efficiently. This museum reminds us that when faced with challenges, past generations pushed through barriers. They arrived at regional consensus. They drove an ambitious agenda and accomplished great things. We know what we must do. Relieve overcrowded classrooms, ensure higher educational access and excellence, fix crumbling roads and bridges, maintain and expand transit, preserve and restore our natural heritage. And just as happened before, business and labor, conservation and civic leadership are uniting around these urgent needs. All of you who are here today will be part of making that difference. Together, from our strong foundation of reform and partnership, we can move forward boldly to keep the state of the county and of this entire region strong, for every person, every family, every community, for now and for the future. This morning, this space that we are borrowing will be filled with school children, eager, perhaps, to learn about local history. They are our future. Let them not say of us 50 years from now, why didn't we build it? We can do it. Our history shows us that we can. Thank you for your partnership in writing the next chapter. Thank you very much.